Welcome, guys, to my first episode of Nostalgia Month, where I talk about things from my childhood, stuff that I grew up with, shows, movies, games, celebrity crushes, because, yep, that's going to be an episode on Nostalgia Month. So, stay tuned for that video. That's going to be interesting. And this episode of Nostalgia Month, the first episode, I'm going to be talking about this channel that is still going on to this day, but it's not really as good as it was in the early 2000s. And of course, that channel is Cartoon Network. Growing up as a kid, Cartoon Network was like the coolest thing ever to watch. Like, you could watch all the shows and movies they show on there. It's like, if you didn't watch Cartoon Network, you wasn't cool as a kid. I mean, you just wasn't. In the early to mid 2000s, when Cartoon Network was at its hyper popularity, would create kids across the world, including myself. Cartoon Network was the shiznit when I was a kid. I mean, all the shows they had when I was a kid. And I'm going to talk to you about the shows that I personally love and grew up with. And some of the shows that I think are okay, but I won't talk too much about them, since I don't really have a nostalgic feeling for it. But I will talk about most of the shows that are Cartoon Network, especially the most popular ones, and what Cartoon Network needs to improve now, and what the future will hold with Cartoon Network. Since Cartoon Network, Disney Channel, and Nickelodeon are the top three children's network shows that are still going to this day and going pretty okay. Both channels got crappy shows, and both channels have pretty decent shows. Alright, enough of that yip yap. Let's talk about everybody's favorite boy genius that is not Jimmy Neutron. Jimmy Neutron ain't got jack squat on Dexter. Dexter's Laboratory was my show when I was a kid. I remember while watching the show late at night, and I was thinking to myself, man, how come his parents not know he has a laboratory in his room? I mean, they didn't even come up to his room. Well, there was an episode of Dexter's Laboratory where Dexter's father went into his laboratory to find out all this other stuff, and he just saw like, okay, he put his still vacuuming his room. But the later seasons of Dexter's Laboratory were not as great as the first two seasons. I mean, the first two seasons were very great, even though they didn't last long. I mean, Dexter lasted from 95 to 97, 98, I believe. And then it came back to like 2001 and ended 2003. So the show, unfortunately, didn't really last long. I wish it would last a lot longer. But the show was still great. I loved the writing for the show. The episodes were genius. No pun intended. No pun intended. I also just loved the banter between Dexter and Eddy. Eddy always trying to break his lab stuff in his laboratory. And Dexter always be like, Eddy, get out of my room! Out of my laboratory! Eddy, get out! Yes, I mean... Oh my god, I love this show. Dexter's Laboratory was my show. And also, Mandark, his rival, who I could do a great impression of him. Ha ha ha! Ha 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 ha! Ha ha ha! I'm sorry. Also, you can't talk about Dexter's Laboratory without talking about Dial M for Monkey and the Justice Friends. Two very great shorts they have in between each of the two episodes they show in Dexter. I mean, this show was awesome. I love Dexter. I love Dial M for Monkey. I love Justice Friends. Just love it, love it, love it, love it. But now, let's talk about our three misfits from the cul-de-sac. What is the best way to summon the show that nobody has ever said before? Three friends who have the same name, they both live in a cul-de-sac, they scheme their neighborhood peers, and all they want is jawbreakers. How cool of a show is that, to sum up? Ed, and Eddy is not only one of the best shows ever, but one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. I mean, this show, just the comedy in this show with the three friends that interact with each other. I mean, the show has a similar formula. Eddy has a plan to scheme all the neighborhood peers to get money so he can buy jawbreakers. Because basically, in every episode of Ed and Eddy, they always have to get jawbreakers. So Eddy had to come up with a scheme to fool everybody to give him money to buy jawbreakers. Double D, or Ed, doesn't think it's a very good idea. Well, Ed always do something stupid to mess up the plan, and later on, they get kissed to death by the Kangaroo Sisters. That's pretty much the formula of the show in a nutshell. So Ed and Eddy is pretty much one of the funniest shows I've ever seen in my entire life, and I just love how these three friends, you can just buy these three as his best friends who have the same name. Or it's Eddy, who is the schemer, the mastermind, Double D, the brainiac nerd, and Ed, the retard, basically, because Ed always the one that messes things up for everybody. And this show, it's just pure. This show was just pure nostalgia. Cartoon Network is pure nostalgia in a nutshell already, but this show just brings me back to my childhood. This is one of the shows I just go back and watch the episode a lot because this show was just so freaking hilarious. Also, probably the most memorable moment in the show was when, at the end of the episode, Dear Ed, Jimmy starts dancing, and it is awesome.
Huh? Everybody's doing it! Bouncy, bouncy, bouncy!
Like, when I first saw that as a kid, I was like, no. That cracked me up so hard as a kid, but now I watch it now, I had to assume that Jimmy is gay. Yeah, Jimmy is gay, and I always assumed that Jimmy was gay when I was a kid, so it pretty much makes a lot of sense. But anyways, now let's move on to a story about a boy and a girl who makes friends with death. Billy and Mandy was one of the most creative shows I've ever seen when I was a kid. I mean, you have Mandy, this stone cold mean girl, and Billy, this dumb kid, make friends with the Grim Reaper after he lost to a game of Limbo. And since he lost that game, he becomes their friend forever. And that show sounds pretty awesome. Billy and Mandy as a kid, like I said before, it was very creative, and it's still creative now, and I do think that this show is very, sort of in a way, like a horror comedy in a way, sort of make references to, like, older horror movies, and, like, The Evil Dead, and all the other stuff, like the Universal Monster movies. But I also like how they make Grim Jamaican. I mean, how can you go wrong with that? I mean, that is just pure epicness right there. Billy and Mandy, when I was a kid growing up, I thought to myself, this is a weird show, and the show is still weird, but it's not as weird as this next show what I'm about to talk about.
We interrupt this program to bring you Courage, the Cowardly Dog Show!
Much as I loved the show as a kid and now, this show is weird. This is a weird, trippy, mind-messing show. As a kid, I didn't get half of the crap that I saw, especially with some of the stuff I'm about to show you right now.
Return the slide.
What's your offer? Help! Help!
Courage. Courage. Do not be afraid.
Tonight, by Fantasy Flan, I'm telling the world. Fantasy Flan, Fantasy Flan, and every time you see my face...
I don't know about you guys, but I'm sure as heck not going to bed tonight because of that show. But now, let's talk about 5 cool kids that live in a treehouse. How cool is it just to hang out in a treehouse with your friends with no adults, nobody just to look out for you, just saying screw the adults, we're kids, let's have fun. This show, which is anti-adults, and that message and the theme that this show has, I can dig it. I can dig it, and I can definitely relate to all the stuff that goes on in Codename Kids Next Door, and this is why I watched this show non-stop as a kid. Codename Kids Next Door was the show. I said about all the other shows, like Ed and Eddy and Billy and Mandy and Dexter, but Codename Kid Next Door was my show, man. Number 4 was probably one of the most coolest characters I ever looked up to as a kid. I mean, number 4, I would have wanted to be him because he was so cool and funny. I liked number 4. I loved him. Number 4 was my man. He was my man. I loved number 4. Also, I loved the Dragon Ball Z reference in the show where he was number 4 Ku instead of Goku, and the Delightful Kids from down the lane was Frieza. I mean, any Dragon Ball Z reference in Cartoon Network, thumbs up. And let's move on to the boy who could transform into many aliens. If any of you knew me from 2005 through 2008, you would know that I was a die-hard Ben 10 fan. I mean, I have all the seasons on DVD. I no longer have them no more. I'll rebuy them one day. Had all the action figures, had the Omnitrix. I had a Ben 10 birthday party. I was a Ben 10 junkie when I was a kid, from 2005 to 2008. Ben 10 was the show. Like I said with so many other Cartoon Network shows, Ben 10 was the show. I mean, the show was so cool. A 10-year-old boy who has an alien-like watch that's to turn into any alien he wants. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, that whole premise sums up. It just turned into a very awesome show. And Ben 10 pretty much spawned into that franchise with so many unnecessary shows now we're getting, and the unnecessary and stupid reboot that we're gonna have. But anyways, now let's move on to a different type of friends. Imaginary friends. I have been following the show since it first aired in 2004. It was a TV movie at first, then it got turned to an actual show, and I remember when it first premiered it too, on Friday. Remember we do the 5 Friday nights, which I'm about to show you later. This show is very special to me. It seemed like with other shows, but Fox's Home for Romantic Friends, I really feel like this show should have gone on way longer than it should have, because it stopped in 2009, which I thought was very short for a show like this. Could have gone on for like an extra 5 years, but this show is very underrated, and I do think that this show it had a huge fan base, but I feel like more kids nowadays should watch the show and kind of teach them lessons of how you could have an imaginary friend, no matter how they look. They could be a monster or a blob or whatever. You can have an imaginary friend, and that show really has that theme very great and down pat. And also, when I was younger, I had a crush on Frankie when I was a kid. I mean, whew. Actually, my favorite episode of Father's Home for Imaginary Friends is the episode Blue, where Blue is sick. He's white as a ghost, and Eduardo, Coco, and Wilt think he is a ghost and he is dead, so they trying to turn him down in the foster home, and they just try to just kill him, basically, or something. They just think he's a ghost. That's my favorite episode of the show. I watched that episode so many times as a kid, and actually some of my favorite moments from each of the shows, like Billy and Mandy, where Billy is afraid of clowns, and he just says, "Destroy us all! Destroy us all!"
And they'll destroy us all to make it happen! Destroy us all! Destroy us all! Destroy us all! Destroy us all! Destroy us all!
Now, let's move on to the samurai sword-wielding hero that is in the future. What was that? If anybody can tell me what's one of the most underrated shows of all time, Samurai Jack will most definitely be on that list. I mean, this show ended way too soon, and I'm glad they revived the show recently on Adult Swim, and I've been binge watching that show, and tell you, Jack is back. Jack is most definitely back, and the original Samurai Jack TV series was so freaking awesome. I love the style of animation. I just love how majority of the episodes were just basically minimum dialogue and a slow pace, and it gives you that feeling and that vibe of the show. The show was so great. This is a great show. I don't get why Cartoon Network had to cancel it so soon. I mean, I'm glad they brought Samurai Jack back on Adult Swim. And if they would have brought it back on Cartoon Network, it would have been terrible, especially with how they're doing the next show I'm going to talk about soon, and Ben 10 and Teen Titans Go. It would have been on the same line as that, so I'm glad they brought Jack back. How can we forget our big, blonde, sunshades wearing ladies man?
Do the monkey with me. Come on. Hey there, baby. Yeah, whatever.
Talk about a guy who is buff and has good hair who still can't get the girl. Johnny Bravo, definitely a fan favorite from most Cartoon Network fans because this show was pretty funny. I love Johnny Bravo. I never really watched that much as a kid though. I watched it when I got a little bit older because they canceled the show when I was younger. So I watched the show when I got older. When I saw reruns on Boomerang, and I just think the show is very funny. And Johnny Bravo is a hilarious character. Definitely one of the most iconic characters in the Cartoon Network vault. So I'm glad that I can add Johnny Bravo to my list. And now let's talk about our 5 favorite teenage superheroes. Whoever planned decided to cancel the show and leave us with this stupid bullcrap of excuse of a Teen Titans show is retarded. Cause this show was on point. Teen Titans was the show when I was younger. I mean, Teen Titans. My God, I could just. This show was childhood. Everything about Cartoon Network was childhood, but this show was just. This was the shiznit. I mean, the action was on point. My favorite episode was actually Red X, when Robin and the Teen Titans had to fight off Red X, and Robin and actually is Red X. So that was pretty cool. And this show was awesome. This was an awesome show. I love Teen Titans. I love the show to death. I still love the show to this day. And they need to revive the show as either a live action movie or make a new season. Because that Teen Titans Go needs to go. I'm bad with jokes. But anyways, alright. Last and most definitely not least, let's talk about our 3 perfect little girls. What is said that there hasn't been said about the Powerpuff Girls, that this is, without a doubt, the best show on Cartoon Network in my opinion. Powerpuff Girls, this is pure nostalgia. Powerpuff, and I remember when I was a kid being made fun of a lot for watching the show, saying it's a girly show. You like Powerpuff Girls? Those people can suck it. Powerpuff Girls was awesome. This show was on point. This show was on point. I love the heck out of this show. I mean, 3 girls that were created and by this man, Professor Utonium, by Chemical X, and they're just crime-fighting kindergartners. That is awesome. That is awesome. And in a way, that premise can pretty much turn the Powerpuff Girls into a live-action, big-budget, multi-million-dollar movie. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't mind seeing that. As a matter of fact, if that movie will be a huge hit, make a Cartoon Network cinematic universe. Just go with it. Go with it. Go with it. Yeah, Powerpuff Girls is, without a doubt, the best show on Cartoon Network ever. I love the show. I love the characters. Blossom, Bubbles, Buttercup, Professor Utonium, the Mayor, Miss Bella, Miss Keen, the Rowdy Rough Boys, Bush, Bulmer, and Brick, him, and of course Mojo Jojo, Princess Morbucks, Fuzzy Lumpkins. The show has so many memorable characters, and that's why I love it so much, because it has so many memorable characters that that makes me want to buy the complete series on DVD, which I am still when I get my first job. So I can buy that bad boy or bad girl, to be politically correct, and that new Powerpuff Girls show. No, just no. Now I know it missed out on some other shows like Chowder, Flapjack, My Gym Partner's a Monkey, Cap Laszlo, Sheep in the Big City, Cow and Chicken, or the Having the Robot Jones and Time Squad. Those shows are okay, there's nothing wrong with none of those shows, but I never really had a huge nostalgia over those shows. I watched those shows, don't get me wrong. I think those shows are okay, but I don't really love them or gravitate them as much as those other shows that I talked about. Also, I love the Cartoon Network bumpers when I was a kid. Those were the coolest things watching on Cartoon Network. Also, Friday nights was awesome. That was like the best thing ever that happened on Fridays in the early 2000s. And I remember playing the Eddy game on the PS2. So Cartoon Network in the early 2000s definitely holds a huge place in my heart. I love Cartoon Network in the early 2000s and what they should do now. I'm not really watching any of the current shows now, so I only watch like shows like Adventure Time and Gumball, the Steven Universe, all the other stuff. But I really feel like what they should do, stick with their animated shows. Don't do live action shows like what they did in like 2008, 2007, 2009, whatever. They started doing that. Because that would really turn me off from Cartoon Network. So don't do that. Just stick with their animated shows. Don't reboot none of their old shows. Because as soon as they reboot it, they turn it into something bad. So now, because I was one of those people who want to revive their old shows. I want to see their old shows again. But as soon as they did that, they turned it into something worse. So whatever was in the past, let it stay in the past. And you could just watch and reminisce over those shows. So, this was fun. Glad you guys enjoyed my first episode of Nostalgia Month. If you did, that's cool. If you didn't, don't care. But anyways, guys, of course, I will definitely do more this month in May. So thank you so much for watching. And let me know if you ever watched Cartoon Network as a kid growing up. And what was one of your favorite shows on Cartoon Network. So leave that in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, if you are new to my channel and you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.